Picture this, an AI voice agent that calls your leads, follows up, and even closes deals while you sleep. Sound crazy? Actually, not really. I just built one. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I use my favorite AI platform, Retell AI, to build this game-changing outbound voice agent. And the best part is, for those who stick around to the end, I'll be providing an out-of-box solution to copy and paste this agent for those exclusively in my community below. I want this video to be for those who are really interested in learning not just how to build this system, but how it actually works. Without further ado, let's dive right into this video. I've been looking forward to this video for a while, and I'm really excited to show you how this works. So technically, this video could be applied to any business. Building an AI voice agent that does outbound calls is something that many businesses need. But in this specific use case, what we're going to be doing is building an AI voice agent for a technology store that is just following up doing tech support. And the way the call is going to work is it's going to refer to me by my personal name, and it's going to query whether my specific computer needs a repair. And then it's going to update all of that information, as you can see here in this spreadsheet. Now, I'm covering my phone number, but you can see my name. My computer is a Windows Vista XP, obviously. Fantastic, high quality computer there. And then what we see here is the key part. You can see a summary, need computer repair, yes or no. All of this will be automatically populated after the person is called. But the important part here is this status area, and this will actually trigger the call. So if we put in not called, I'll go ahead and trigger the call for you to see what it actually looks like in the wild. So we'll hit not called, and any moment here, here's my phone. Okay, look at that. Here comes the call. We'll put it on speaker.
Is this Mark?
Yes, this is Mark.
Hey Mark, it's Gopi with Genius Tech Support. I noticed you put in a support ticket and wanted to follow up with you. What's going on with your computer?
My computer's just having some issues.
I see you bought a Windows Vista XP, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what specifically is going on with your computer?
I don't know,
Hold
like,
back on the...
so it just like glitches for random reasons every time.
Have you tried restarting it?
Yes.
Sometimes a
yes,
simple
no, I know.
restart can fix...
Yeah, I know, but I've tried
All right.
restarting it many times.
Alright, if restarting hasn't worked and it's more complex, do you want a repair?
I do want to repair.
Great, let's get that sorted out.
Wait
for
a
you.
second. Oh my
I'll
gosh.
arrange
My
for-
computer is, I don't know, it's catching on fire. Can you help me, please?
If your computer is catching on fire, you need to immediately unplug it and move away from it. Reverse. Once you're safe, contact emergency services if needed.
Help me, please.
I can't assist with a fire over the phone. Please ensure your safety first and call emergency services if necessary.
Okay,
Once
I'm gonna put the
everything is
phone
safe-
down. Okay, bye. There you go. So, a bit dramatic. But let's see what happens now. Let's look at this spreadsheet. And boom, there it is. You can see what just happened. Look at that. Need computer repair, yes. So that was my call right there. You can see that. And it says, summary of the call. Mark reported his computer was glitching and catching on fire, leading to a safety concern that interrupted the call. It's an accurate assessment of the situation, I would say. So that's pretty cool. Look at that. It status called, need a computer repair, boom. So this is a great way for a business to follow up with people without them having to explicitly call them themselves. And you could add hundreds of people to this list. Now, I'm going to teach you how to actually build this using 3 different things. First, Retell AI. Second, make.com. And third, we're just going to be using a simple Google Sheets. The important thing to note is before we jump into all this, we need to talk about compliance, okay? There are some strict regulations and rules that have come out this year that prohibit you as somebody who's using an AI voice agent from calling businesses or individuals without prior consent. So as long as we're using the system, calling people who've given us consent to call them, written express consent, then this is totally fine. But if we're doing this on the fly, you could face serious fines from $500 all the way up to $1,500. And obviously, you don't want that. So that's a little bit, some TCPA compliance out of the way now. So first, I'm going to take you over to my retail scenario and what we're doing. You can see, let me make myself smaller. So beautiful. You can see here, this is my Retell agent that I've built. And I want to make this very clear. I'm not going to be teaching prompting this video today. If you want to learn all about Retell AI prompting, I made a video just 2 weeks ago about that, and you can go and check that out for yourself. But for the purpose of keeping this concise and brief, I'm just going to show you quickly an overview of the prompt, and then I'll show you what's really the meat and potatoes here, and that is the dynamic variables, which I'll be covering and showing you how it was able to refer to my actual personal name and how it was able to refer to my specific computer, which is so cool. We have the role is a persistent, slightly rude tech support agent named Gopi, as you could probably tell over the phone. His skills, he's an expert at troubleshooting and tech support, persistent, assertive, ability to gather information, So I wouldn't recommend using this for an actual business. You'd have to maybe tweak it a little bit, but I wanted to have a little fun with this one. So you see the objective is to assist the caller in diagnosing and fixing the computer while gathering information. And this is what I put, slightly rude, pushy, persistent, but always with the goal of finding out if they need a repair. And that's important if we're going to be gathering information from it. So now here's the steps. And you always want steps when you're prompting, just a quick point of fact. So opening statement, hey, name. Notice we're using a dynamic variable here with 2 curly brackets on each side. And we have it's Gopi with Genius Tech Support. I noticed you put in a support ticket and wanted to follow up with you. Caller. Oh yes, my computer's been having issues. Okay, I see you bought a model. So that's the computer model that we're referring to. Windows XP, MacBook Pro, Dell 5X. I don't know. Is that right? Okay. Okay, what specifically is going on with your computer? So you see we have the steps, and then everything else is just the basic default settings, except one thing that I would recommend adding if you're doing any outbound agents. You want to have voicemail detection set up, because if you're calling loads of people, you don't want the agent wasting all this money talking to the voicemail thinking it's a person. That's a huge problem. So you have hang up if voicemail is reached. I just put that. It does a pretty good job at detecting if it's voicemail from my tests. And everything else is default. The only other thing that we're going to be changing here is the webhook settings. So we'll be putting that in here as well. Okay. Perfect. We're using default GPT-4o, which I find does a lot better with dynamic variables as opposed to GPT-4o mini, as it's a little bit smarter, which is great. And then the voice that we're using is just an Indian guy who I thought sounded really realistic, so I chose him. His name is Amritanushu. I totally destroyed that name. I'm sorry about that. Here you go. So you can overview the settings. Now I'm going to take you over to the make.com, and we're going to build 2 scenarios. The first scenario is going to be connected to Google Sheets. So before we even build that scenario, let's just quickly set up the Google Sheets for you. I've actually already built it out so that you can just copy and paste. Here is the Google Sheets that you're going to have access to. And let me put that there. So you can see this is what it looks like. You just have this classic first name, last name, phone number. One thing about the phone number is I formatted it for American numbers only just for my convenience, but you can easily change that if you're in a different country. So I would just put in, here's an American number, let's say. And then it puts in the +1 at the beginning. So it's kind of nice. Computer model, Windows Vista. And we'll be adding people in here so that you can see what it looks like when it's actually calling live in action. Need computer repair. And this is where it will populate yes or no. Summary of the call. And then as you can see, that's all the information we have just for this simple demonstration. So you can see how this works. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hook this up to make.com. So we'll go over to this just brand new scenario, and if you never work with make.com, this is just from the ground up. You'd hit create a new scenario. Make is free, so I highly recommend using it up to, I believe, 10,000 operations, so it's great. And what you'll do here is just hit Google Sheets, hit search rows. So we'll hit search rows here, and this is how it's going to work. So first thing we want to do, let's go to Outbound campaign, sheet, we'll do sheet 1. And then we'll do filter. And this is important because what it's going to do for us is search the rows for only the rows with the status that says not called, right? So it's only going to populate those rules for us so that it actually only calls status not called. So we'll put filter here, status, and then we'll put equal to not called, written just like this. Okay, then we'll hit OK. And the next thing we'll add is this array aggregator. And what this is going to do is, imagine that you have a file with all of these different people populated into it. It says status not called, status not called, status not called. Well, what's going to happen is when we hit search rows, it's going to send all that information, all of these people over here to make.com, and we only want to separate one by one because we're only calling one person at a time in this instance. So in order to do that, we have to use this array aggregator. And so I'll hit select all fields here, leave it as is, hit OK. And the next thing you'll do, and this is cool, this is where we're actually going to make the HTTP post request where it's going to make the outbound call. So here's what it looks like. Make a request. We're going to change this method to post. Boom. And now we're going to take a brief break from make.com. We've sort of laid a little bit of the groundwork. And now what we're going to do is go over to a section in Retell's documentation here. And hopefully you can see this. We have, this is what's actually going to be triggering the phone call. So you see this custom code over to the right. You don't have to worry about that because Retell makes it really nice and easy for you to go in, put in your API key, the from number, the to number, and then you can paste all your code directly into make.com. It might look complicated. I'm going to make it super simple for you right now. Don't worry. So you're just going to follow me and put in this information. So we'll put in our API key. So I'm going to go grab that right over here at Retell. And you can see here's Retell. We have agents. You just go down to API key. I'm going to take this test key that I just made, copy it, and I'm going to put that right here. And we're going to write it just like this. You want to put bearer, right? Bearer token. Put it right there, bearer, and then there's the key information we're putting in. And now we want to put the from number, so the number we're calling from, which is the number we bought on Retell AI, and then the to numbers. So let's do this right now. And this is going to do an actual test call for us. So go ahead and do that right now. 02. So you can see that goes there. And actually you have to put a plus in front of the 1. I'll do this again. And now we'll add the dynamic variables. Remember, these are just the dynamic variables we used earlier. So the name and the model of the computer, so that it will call the name of the person bespoke to each person's actual name, which is really awesome. So hit OK. And then do model. Done. Okay. So now if we hit send, this should call my phone. As you can see, look at that. My phone is actually ringing right now, which is awesome. And now you can see this information. So it's working, which is great. Awesome.
Is this flash name marked?
Yo. Okay. That's great. So you can see the call's actually working. And here we go. For this, what we're going to do, I'm just going to put in some random numbers here just as placeholders for the dynamic variable. Let me hit send. Okay. Now you have the name, the Retell dynamic variables there. We're going to take that information and we're going to put it into make.com in this HTTP make a request. So we want to have it formatted just like this, URL. We're going to take the URL that we just made. We're going to copy it. It's right up here at the top. Hit copy. And then we're going to put that right in here, nice and easy. Boom. And the body type that we're going to be using is raw. Put that right here. And content type is going to be JSON application. Perfect. So the request content, this is where we're actually going to write the custom code that we're just copying that Retell was so kind to generate for us. So we'll take that from right here. So, but before we do that, we actually need to add a header here. And this header is going to have our API key just like we did before. So we'll hit add a header and you're going to call this authorization. All right, and this basically allows us to connect and actually use Retell AI when we're making this phone call, which is great. So you can see I'm going to put in bearer, just as we did before, bearer, and then comma, our API key. Now that's great. So we have the key sitting right there. And then what we'll do is go to the request content part. So we'll take this information, copy just as carefully as I'm doing this, and you'll have this formatted so you won't have to go copy it as precisely as I'm doing. So we'll go copy this, paste it right in here. So we have the agent ID, And let me just put a curly bracket right here. Boom. So we have the agent ID. This is just JSON. Retell L&M dynamic variables, and then a comma here. Don't make sure you don't miss a comma. Next thing, all we need here is, let's make sure. You want to make sure we get from number and to number. There we go. Okay, so I'm copying this information. We're just going to space this out. You can see what I'm doing. So we have the from number and the to number, and the direction is outbound. We can leave that. So, perfect. Okay, great. So now you can actually test this yourself if you're curious. So we'll hit run module, individual module only. It's calling, and boom. As you can see, look at that. It's calling my phone. So it's working, which is great. We'll just save this scenario. Make sure it stays saved if anything happens. So now all we have to do and run only the Google Sheets module on its own. So we'll hit run module only. And look what we have here. We have exactly the status not called. You see this, Tom Hopkins, and the phone number. So you have that information right there, which is great. And now what we can do is, since we've run that information, we can bring that over here and substitute the values that we need to change. So there's only 3 values we need to change here, and that will be the to number, so you can see, and we have that up here. So the phone number of the person, phone number, model of the computer. Make sure you're doing this within the apostrophes. Okay, computer model, and then we want the name of the person, which will be right here, first name. Perfect. So now, based on that information, we should be able to run the agent, give it a shot, and we'll run it just from the top. So normally what you would do is you'd set this, you'd hit this button down here and have it run every 15 minutes, and then it would continuously be running, cycling through every 15 minutes, checking for a new table or row that's been added that says status not called. Okay, so what we'll do is hit run once, just so you see what it does. Running, and now it's calling, and let's see if it works.
Hey, is this Tom?
Yes, this is Tom. So we've got the first half built, which is wonderful. Great job, everyone who's following along. Hang on. Whoa. I don't mean to interrupt my own video, but technically, since it's my video, I guess I can do that. Look, I was looking at the analytics the other day, and it says that 90% of you guys who are watching this video aren't subscribed. I would love to try and reach 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. I know this might be asking a lot, but if you happen to be a generous person and would like to subscribe, please go ahead and take a moment to subscribe right now. I really would appreciate it, and it really does help the channel grow. All right, keep watching the video. And the second half now we're going to build, and that's only going to be the end call analysis that updates it so that, if you can see, it will go ahead and update this area and say now status to called, and populate if it needs a computer repair, and of course the summary. So that's great. So now what we'll do is we're going to hit save to this, turn this off for right now, put this over here. We're going to make a new tab, go to make.com. Create a scenario. And this is where things get fun. So we're going to go over here and we're going to hit webhook. And you just want to do a custom webhook, as you see right here. And what we'll do is we'll make a new one, and we'll call it Outbound tutorial. Perfect. Save it. And what we'll do is we'll copy that, bring it over to Retell, plug it right in. So where you put this, if this is your first time doing this, you put this at the agent level webhook URL right here at the bottom. So I'm going to just replace what I have here. This is the original one. And we'll replace it with the make.com one. Boom. Perfect. So that's set up. So simple. And now we'll take that and let me make sure this is good. I'm going to hit stop. And what I'm going to do, this is a slight trick. Before we set up any filters, which you'll see why they're important, I'm going to hit call, and then I'm going to hit redetermine data structure, and I'm going to listen. I'm not going to hit redetermine data structure. This is important. And then hit call, because if I call it, it's going to trigger the data structure listener and it's not going to capture any of the data that I want it to. So first what we're going to do is actually go back here to this scenario, call it, and follow it. So be very careful when you're testing it like this and to ensure it works. So I'll go over here and we'll hit run once. See, it's calling, and now watch. As it's calling, I'm going to go over here. And right as I open it, yes, this is Tom. Now click it.
All right, Tom. I see you bought a Windows Vista. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. What specifically is going on with your computer?
I desperately need a repair.
All right, Tom. I hear you loud and clear. Let's
I really appreciate you so much.
Tom, just doing my job.
Okay, so I hit end and watch. There we go, successfully determined. That's great for our purposes. Now, one thing I didn't mention about Retell that we had previously configured, and I'll show you how to do this now at this step, is we have a post-call analysis function set up. So if you follow me this far, this shouldn't be too complicated. It's really simple. You hit OK. Now this data is successfully determined, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what we actually exported. So if we go back to Retell, we have this thing called post-call analysis, and it's really nice. We can define what kind of data we want to extract. So previously you'd set up ChatGPT to do this in make.com for you, but it actually can be done natively within Retell AI. So you would hit this right here, add. We can define what kind of data. Let's say we want to do text data. So you can see an example here, like a detailed call summary. What this will do is it will be given a transcript of the call, and then it will use an LLM to summarize all the information beautifully, and then we can export that all formatted for us when it reaches make.com, which is great. So I've already gone ahead and done that. You can see I set up a customer repair one, and this is very simple. We just did choices. So you'd go, in order to do this, you'd go here. We do a selector, and we'll do choices. So first choice, second choice. So the choice would be yes or no, and we want to do repair. Did the customer want a repair? And now it will be smart enough to know and analyze the call and see whether the caller sentiment was yes, I want a repair, or no. And it'll export that information into make.com so that we can put it into Google Sheets. Great. So you get the point. And the caller summary one is just a simple call summary. Give me a detailed call summary in one sentence, concise. But it already has that by default. This is just one that gives it to you in one sentence. So that's a lot of detail right there. I hope that makes sense. What I'm going to do now is go over to right back to Make, and I'll show you how that actually came out of the factory. So let me put this over here. And what we'll do is I'm going to do Google Sheets again, and we want to go to search a row. So search rows, and we'll go to Outbound campaign, sheet 2 in this case. Normally it's sheet 1, okay? And then we'll hit, we want to do phone number. So what this is going to do, what we want to find out is what row do we actually want to update. That's the reason we're doing this. So like I said, I want to give you not only an explanation of how to build all of these systems, but I want to teach you why we're building this system the way that we're building it. So what you can see is we're using this phone number filter. It's going to search through all the rows to only update the row with this exact phone number. So in this case, we'd put in the phone number would be the 2 number in this case. So let's go through. This is the information that we got sent over from Retell AI. So we want to look for the 2 number. And you can see it's right down here at the bottom. Hit 2 number raw. And then we have that set up. So we want to make sure that's set to equal to, and okay. Great. Now the next thing we're going to do is add another one. So this is the last bubble we're going to add here. And this is just the update a row function. Hopefully this is making sense for you. If not, it will in a second. So we hit update a row. And then we want to go to Outbound campaign. Boom, same one. Okay. Sheet 2. And this is what's important. So We want to obviously update the information where it says need a computer repair, yes or no, and then we want to set the status to called, right? So we want to put in here called. So obviously this is the phone number, this is the row that's just been called, so we want to update that to called, and then we want to populate the two things that we exported from Retell, which is great. So we'll put in need computer repair, yes or no, and the summary of the call. So what you'll do is put in where it says need computer repair, you just put in, let's go down over here so you actually know what we're doing. And you see this section called call analysis right at the bottom. So hit call analysis, and then you want to go to custom analysis data. Okay, it's very important. Hit custom analysis data. And now for need a computer repair, we just match that to computer repair, yes. Boom. And for summary, we just match that to call summary. Now that that's out of the way, if you run into issues when getting that call post-call analysis to be sent through, that sometimes can happen, what you have to do is just disconnect this webhook right here and run it as on its own. So just run it without anything else connected to it while it's listening, and then sometimes that can fix that problem. So, and the last thing we would need to do here is just go update the row number. So the row number, as you might imagine, is just going to be the number that we get from our result after searching the rows. So you just put in row number. There's that information, so that's 2. And obviously you want the status to be called. So that's all we have to update in this case. That's all set up. The last thing you need to do, as you've seen in my previous videos, is set up one filter that'll make or break your scenario. You want to make sure you have this filter set up or it'll drive you crazy. So the filter is condition, event, and you want to type in word for word call analyzed. Okay, analyzed lowercase, exactly as it's written, case sensitive. And now what that means, it's going to filter out only the information it's getting from Retell. That's an end of call event, not a start of call event, not a mid call event, just only end of call event. Perfect. I don't think there's a mid of call event. There you go. Save. And now that should be running. So what's really exciting is we can go over here and we'll hit make sure status is set to not called. We can go back to our other system here, and what you'll do is hit save for this, and then flip this little switch on immediately as data arrives. So we'll delete old data, hit save, and now you can see this is actually going to be running all the time, continually collecting data. So we can test it out right now and go over to the original integration we have, and if you want to set that up to continually be running as well, what you can do is go over to, you have the outbound campaign here, you want to do run every 15 minutes. Just turn that on. Oh, I have so many make scenarios on that won't actually work. There you go. But for the sake of this demonstration, you understand. So every 15 minutes, if it notices that there's a new row that's been added, i.e. a new person, say John, and his status is set to not called, then it will in fact call him, which is awesome. So we'll hit run once because we still have this set up just to show you that it works. So we'll hit run once.
Is this Tom?
Yes, this is Tom.
Hey Tom, it's Gopi with Genius Tech Support. I noticed you put in a support ticket and wanted to follow up with you.
I desperately need a computer repair, please. Thank you so much.
All right, Tom. I see you bought a Windows Vista. That's right.
That's
Let's
correct.
get to the bottom of this.
Yes.
What specifically is good?
You know what? I don't have time for this. Okay, so you get the point. Now watch what happens. Boom! Look at that. It just updated. That's so cool. Needed computer repair, yes. And then here's the quick little summary. Tom urgently requested a computer repair during the call because he became frustrated, Okay, look at that. So that's really cool. You see how this works. And ideally you could set this up with lots of people who maybe they're filling out a form on a website, and every single time someone fills out a form, the information, their first, last name, phone number, gets inputted directly into this Google Sheet. I mean, the use cases for this are literally endless. There's so much you could do. This is a very narrow example, but now you can see how this works. Okay, fantastic. So I'll give you one final word on dynamic variables, as you can see here in the prompting, and then I'll show you the out-of-box solution that you'll have access to once you join my community below. So as you can see here, this is how you make dynamic variables. I briefly covered it earlier, but just for a little bit more specificity, let me make sure I explain this well. So as you can see here, when the AI initiates with the beginning defined message, it starts with, hey, is this name? And so it's important when you do a dynamic variable that you always put it in these curly brackets here, and so it has to look exactly like that, right? So hey, is this name? And since we capitalized it earlier, we need to make sure that it is in fact capitalized. Otherwise, it will actually make a mistake. So I'm making sure that's all set up there. Hey, is this name? Question mark. And then for I'll just give you a brief example doing dynamic variables. There are some default ones that come plug and play already with Retell that you don't have to set up yourself. So for instance, current time, which is nice because LLMs, as you might know, don't actually know the current time. So you can say, so the current time is, and if you type in curly brackets here, current time, make sure I'm doing that correctly. As you can see, there it is. Current time is current time. Then it will actually know the current time, just plug and play. So if we ask it and we say, hey, we'll hit save right there. Go over here and we go test LLM. We say, what is the time? The current time is Wednesday, November 20th. So that's a just plug and play example of a dynamic variable that you can set up. Beautiful. Right there in Retell. So that's a quick overview on dynamic variables, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And now I'll show you, if you get the out-of-box solution, which I've already designed, I've tried to make it as easy as possible for you, if you don't want to go through the entire creation process, to just replace a few little things from my templates. So here's what you'll get. You'll go over to make.com, and the first thing you'll do, just like we did earlier, is you'll create a new scenario, but this time we'll do something a little bit different. And we'll just hit this button, create a new scenario. So the only difference is this time you'll go over here to import blueprint. You'll choose the file, and here you can see the files that you'll have downloaded. Outbound Retell 1, which is the first one automation we made, and then the second one, which is the second automation we made. So I'll just open it right now. The first one, hit save. And now you can see there's only a few things you'll have to modify, but everything is plug and play for the most part. So you have the Google Sheets. You'll have to change the Google Sheets so that it actually is connected to your Google account, and you might have to set up the status to not called like before. And then aggregator, you'll leave that as is. And then the make a request, you'll have this set up. So right here, this should be the same URL, and then your bearer, you will insert your API key right here that you got from Retell, like you saw earlier in the video. And now these are the few things you're gonna have to change. Agent ID, insert your agent ID. You saw earlier where we got that. The name and the model might stay the same, but you might have to mess with those as well to get it to work. And then from number, insert your number, obviously, that you're using within Retell AI. And then of course the to number should look something just like this. So that's everything you have to change over here. The next thing is, if you want to import the next scenario, you'll see that the to number, it should be the same. This comes directly from Retell. The only thing you'll have to do here is actually create your own custom webhook. So you'll have to hit add, make another webhook. And obviously once you've made that webhook, you'll have to take that and plug it right back in here to the agent level webhook like we did before. Okay, and the last thing, you have the Google Sheets. Now, assuming that you take my Google Sheets that I've made for you, you'll connect that Google Sheets in your account, as it says here, row number, and you'll input this information. You'll have to obviously set up your own custom webhook, listen to it like we did earlier, and input that information. So you have all that information, and there you go. As mentioned earlier, all of the resources for building this AI voice agent can be found in my community below. And maybe you're interested in learning how to sell these AI voice agents for yourself. Well, please feel free to join my community. I'm doing a special thing right now where the first 20 people who join the community before we reach 500 members will receive an exclusive one-on-one tech support call with me, where I'll personally guide you, holding your hand into the process of building your first AI voice agents. Thanks so much for watching to the end of the video. I really hope I was able to help you build an outbound retail AI voice agent. And if you're interested in learning about how to sell these AI voice agents, how to build an AI voice business, or maybe you just want to stay up to date with the latest technology, join my community below. You'll love it. And last thing is, please have a wonderful rest of your day.
Tectonic, where AI finds its voice. Come for the tech, stay for the transformation.